Are any of our enemies today a reincarnation of Haman and his cohorts? Is Yahya Sinwar, whatever his name is, a reincarnation of Haman ben Hamdosa Agogi? Well, people have already pointed out that Hamas and Haman are the same letters except for the S and the N. And their meanings, Hamas, we talk about Oretz Hamas, and the different verses that talk about violence and crime and aggression, and so on and so forth. I am not an expert on reincarnation, so I can't say. But as I said before with Parei and Mitzrayim, the idea that may not be a reincarnation, the idea that certain arch enemies, archetypes, negative archetypes, manifest in different generations is clear. I mean, some point out Yamach Shemai Hitler was also with an H. And some people associate also that with the same energy, that negative energy. But I think the focus has to be what are we going to do about it? Not so much to identify who's who, but yes, you could identify. The main thing is to come away with a call to action. That's our approach. It's not just to sensationalize it and say, okay, this one's a Gilgal of that, that's that. It has to be something that's our approach, is to bring light to the world, not to emphasize where darkness evolves from. We need to know it because we get power from Mitzrayim, from Gulas Mitzrayim, and from Gulas Purim. But again, it has to be done with the moderation, with balance. Okay. Next question. Why is God's name not mentioned in the Megillah, and how does that give us a deeper appreciation of God's essence? Okay. How does not referring to Hashem by any of the names we usually use to represent some of his characteristics, as the Megillah does not use Hashem's name, give us a deeper understanding of his inner essence? So we discussed it earlier, I'll just sum it up. A name is a description. It's a definition. Definition and descriptions immediately tell you that it has parameters. It's like a handle. When I call something by a name, I describe something. That's how we speak in the world of descriptions. But then there's the expression, Anochi lo yisram is le b'shum eis v'le b'shum kates. You say, Anochi, I. What is I? I is not a name. Even Havaya calls Shema Etzem, but it still has a name, Yud Kei Vov Kei, and it has meaning, Loshem Ahava, Hoye Hoye V'Viyeh Ke'echad, different meanings behind it. But then there's a thing that's beyond name. It's coming to tell you, you. When I say you, or I, there's you in your name. It's already something that's definable. So when you don't use a name, you're just talking about the etzem of it, the language of Chassidus. That's the root of it. So when it comes to Megillah, you don't see Hashem's name. On one hand, the name was concealed because you don't see Ad Hashem as you did in Mitzrayim, Nisim Gluyim. It was all through Teva. Achashverosh happened to throw a party, and Vashti happened to not comply. He happened to kill her. Then he's looking for a replacement queen. Mordechai happened to overhear the conspiracy. Achashverosh happened to have insomnia. They read the story, wanted to reward him. Everything seems to be a bunch of events. At the time, you'd think, okay, seemingly random events. But then you connect the dots and you see, 1 second, there's a pattern here. A story is unfolding. So Yad Hashem is there. So then we say that's the etzem. It's even deeper than when you see it begoli in revealed miracles. So that's the Nakud. So then someone follows up and says, Hashem's name is not mentioned in Megillah, but we are taught whenever it says HaMelech, the king, it's an allusion to Hashem. Yeah. The Chassidus brings, the Rebbe quotes often from Me'ir Eir, that Achashverosh is HaMelech she'achris v'reish shalei. That the root, Achashverosh, is referring to Hashem. So you could ask the question, of course, obviously, how does that relate? Achashverosh is even according to the opinions, he wasn't a Rasha like Haman, but he was not exactly a tzaddik. So the same thing you could ask about Pari. You have the expression in Zohar that Pari is Isperir de Chol Neherin. His root is coming from a place of an explosion, a bursting out of all Giluim. Lovan. Lovan was a Rasha. Lovan Arami. And yet Chassidus Kabbalah bring the Eitz Chaim Levin Elyon. He comes from the highest level of the whiteness, the supernal whiteness. And the answer is because everything, even in Klippa, comes from Kedusha ultimately. Kol man de'osel l'rachmana is also, there's a heter that corresponds to Zel Uma Ze'osel l'kim. So in the root, you have these levels, And therefore, when it says HaMelech, you're talking about the Laila Hushanodah Shnas HaMelech, so Mefarshim speak and the Maimorim talk about, that you're talking about Malchi Shalelo. So the person asks, according to that, then the Eibishter is hinted to, but it's hinted to. You don't have the name of Vaya, also Melech is Melech HaChashverish, so it's still concealed. The Rebbe has a whole note about this as well in the Kutei Sichos in Chelik Chof Aleph and other places where he talks about that you don't have the name Avaya, but you still have places that can allude to it. But alluding is not revealed. My question for Rabbi Jacobs is, how do we interpret this part of the Megillah where Mordechai gets to wear the king's special robes and garments and rides the king's favorite horse? Does Hashem have a horse? Why would Hashem need a horse to ride on? He's Hashem and can go wherever he wants. He doesn't need a horse to carry him. So how do we interpret this? As descendants of Mordechai, do we get to ride Hashem's favorite horse on Purim? So the first thing is you have to remember to get rid of any anthropomorphic allusions here. Allusion with an A. It's not referring to anything physical. If you want to understand the answer, just open up a look at Torah Eir, Megillah Esther, and he explains the Sus and the Levush, all al pi Kabbalah and al pi Chassidus. These are all metaphors in the physical world, Dibra Torah B'Loshem B'nei Adam down here, but they refer to levels. A Sus is a level in divine level that like a horse that carries someone, it carries Araveda, Momayla Lamata, Momatla Mayla, he speaks. The Gematria of Sus, twice Shem Sag, etc. And this is talked about in the Maimorim. Now is not a place to go into, but you want to go through all the psukim about the Melech. It talks all about what it means on divine levels in Kabbalah and Chassidus. But go to Torah Eir and the Tzemach Tzedek's Eir HaTorah on Torah Eir. You can go to Shari Eir as well. Of the Mittler Rebbe, he talks about it as well. So bottom line is, obviously it's not a physical thing, but everything represents has deeper meaning, in addition to the Pshat, obviously.